Hi everyone, you're watching Good for the Game TV, and this is our Vodacom Durban July preview for 2019. It's the big race. It's taking place on Saturday at the Greyville Racetrack. And I can tell you that of all the horse races, and there's some big features in this country, it's the Durban July that always gets the blood boiling. I cannot believe, for example, on the Good for the Game side, how many hits our preview gets over this time. Everybody, absolutely everybody wants to bet on the July. Well, before you do anything else, if you are new to our videos, we mainly do sports betting previews. Our flagship rugby show, the Handicap Rugby Chat That Matters, that's on Thursday nights live at 9 o'clock. Go down below the video and hit the subscribe button. I'll also put some useful links in the comments box as well, including links to a couple of bookmakers to open accounts, as well as things like the Good for the Game newsletter and the forum thread, where we're going to be sharing lots of bets over the weekend. Let's get straight into the action now. I'm very pleased to welcome Jason Dedekind back on the show. He's done a number of golf previews and horse racing previews with us, and he works with Scorebet. Jason, how are you?
Evening, Brent. Evening to the viewers. And yeah, very well, thank you. Looking forward to a great Saturday. Obviously, the hype is hitting Joburg. Obviously, they got the July and Josie up here, but everybody, we're going down to my native homeland, Durban, and experiencing 60-odd thousand people at Greyville Racecourse. It is South Africa's flagship race meeting, and you know, for the tote and for bookmakers out there, it's a massive betting day.
I mean, I wouldn't imagine any of the other races, even like the Sunmet and that, come quite close to it in terms of turnover.
Sunmet's probably about half, maybe 60% of what the July does, but it's amazing. The guys come together in Durban. Durban's rich in betting history. The guys down there, they know their racing. They're passionate about their racing, and you know, even the socialites, everybody flies in, everybody jets in. I mean, you just have to see the pictures coming through from the airport in terms of what the guys have done to King Shark International. So it's, you know, everybody's hyped up in Durban. You know, even my good golfing mates and sports mates from Durban are sending the normal WhatsApps. What do you like for the July, Joe? What do you like? And, you know, with respect, it's a wide open race. I think many people have got, you know, they've got their mindset on a specific horse. I won't talk anybody out of backing any horse that they like. I'm in the camp of the favorite, and as a bookmaker, I probably shouldn't be, because those are the horses you want to lay. Just like we laid Rory McIlroy in the Masters, I should be wanting to lay a warm 3-year-old with a big weight. But you know, we'll come and talk about the race. I think this is a special horse.
Yeah, and it's a special field by all accounts as well. You know, when the final field was announced, I was on Twitter and people were going all over the place. What a great field, and one of the greatest fields ever. And I mean, you were on Twitter as well, but you left no doubt in anybody's mind who followed you on Twitter which horse you fancied.
Yeah, well, you know, I followed this horse's career. Yes, he's a 3-year-old and only had a short career, but you know, you look at the races that he's won. He's only been beaten once and was over a distance. It might have been a bit touch sharp for him. I don't think he had the best ride that day, I must be honest. I do think he should have won the Triple Crown. But, you know, you're going on the quality of the race. I mean, the average merit rating of the horses in the race is 112. So that's a decent A-division quality field. So, you know, for Hawam to be as special as people are saying, he's currently ranked number 13 in the world. Lucky for some, unlucky for others. In this race here, he's coming in with a huge reputation. You know, my friend Chris Swart, who does a lot of algorithms and all the rest of it from Zambia, he's got his own his own horse racing business. He contracts to a lot of the trainers and owners in terms of buying at the sales and that. Hawam's got a better algorithm than Horse Chestnut. So in terms of, you know, yes, you know, a lot of people might say, those are just numbers and Chris has proven to me that the algorithm is the real deal. It's probably 85 to 90% accurate. I've got to go with what I've seen on the race course too. I've backed Hawam many times, probably 6 or 7 times in its career so far, and I just like his turn of foot. You know, last time out when he won the Daily News, he didn't really have the race his own way. You know, Mark de Kock's on record saying it's not how they wanted to run the race, and you know, he came through with flying colors. And as de Kock says, he knows how to win, and that's indicative of a good horse. You know, we must never forget Pocket Power only used to win by half a length ahead, but he knew how to get his nose down, and I think Hawam's that special quality.
Always amazes me when people talk like that about horses, because I always think to myself, you know, how does the horse know where the finish line is? But I remember Pocket Power very well. He used to time the runs to perfection and just come out and get your nose in front at the right time. And Jason, I guess let's start at the top of the betting boards. I was on Scorebet earlier. I see you guys are very much top price in the market there, if I could say, on the favourite. So you are looking to lay him as a bookmaker, even if you personally may not favour that. And I see you 5-2 about the favourite.
Yeah, I've been fighting with my trading team, but at the end of the day, it is the Vodacom Durban July. He is a 3-year-old. He is taking on the best of his generation. I mean, Do It Again, Rainbow Bridge, Legal Eagles in the race. His merit ratings dropped. You've got a few other lively candidates. Obviously, the stable companion Baharin. It's got a making of probably the best July, and we just hope that there's a decent pace there. There's not that argy-bargy at the top of the straight that generally sort of dictates who wins. And from a price perspective, Brent, I mean, we haven't really pushed racing at Scorebet. We've done a few previews with you guys and all the rest of it, but we don't price up prior to race meetings on a normal day. Obviously, the July is a different scenario. We come in on the day of the race meeting, but I say to punters out there, if they can find better prices at come race time at any betting site, then they can give me a call and show me, because we are very good. We bet to a very low percentage. We're in the punters' favors at the time of race time. And, when I saw the book today, I had a look. I phoned the trading team and I said, fantastic job, because, we're probably a point or two better on a lot of the runners than some of the more popular online betting sites. And, with respect, we're going to run 2 promos over the weekend, which we'll touch on a bit later. But yeah, from a betting perspective, we try. We're gonna give the favourite a bit of rope, as they say. I do think Hawam's the horse to beat.
Right. Well, let's have a look at the second favourite, and that's now you've got the defending champion, Do It Again, generally priced around the 4-1 mark. I see 9-2 on your side there. Can this horse go back to back?
Yes, he can. I mean, Marinaresco did it 2 years ago when carrying top weight. Do It Again was an unlucky loser of the Sun Met. I also thought not a questionable ride, but a decent ride by Marcus on Rainbow Bridge. In the computer form here, we'll say second run after a rest, but punters mustn't be fooled by that. They've obviously had the gallop last Thursday. Rainbow Bridge had a good blowout, so he's actually probably, this is his third run back. Could always call it almost like a barrier trial that he had, and I was very impressed with that workout. He's the main danger to the favourite. Make no mistake. I think Justin Snaith, I mean, he knows how to win this race, and I wouldn't be surprised to see Fourie and Snaith holding the wreath at the end of the day. I mean, I do think that he's a worthy second favourite, and I do think he's the horse that the favourite has to beat.
Right, and let's have a look then a little bit further down the list. We've got 2 horses here. I've been tracking them all week. They're very much around the same price, around the 7-1, 15-2 mark. And we've got Rainbow Bridge, and then the stable companion to the favourite, Mark de Kock trained Baharin. And I saw comments, just to maybe start Baharin, I saw comments from Mark de Kock saying that, he thinks this horse should even be the favourite. Now, is that a trainer trying to throw us off the real favourite, or is this a real runner?
No, it's a big runner. I think this horse hadn't really reached the heights that Mr. de Kock maybe had thought earlier on, but his win last time out really impressed a lot of people. And he's definitely a runner. People look for omens. People look for everything in the race. Mark's got Muzi Yeni aboard. Muzi fighting out Lyle Hewitson and Anton Marcus for the title. It could be Muzi's year, and he would be very deserving of a Vodacom Durban July. His best place is 4th, I think, on Thundering Jet a couple of years ago. So yeah, I think Baharin is a big runner. Rainbow Bridge, make no mistake too. I was in the camp of this horse not in the Sun Met, but in the Queen's Plate, and whatever beats Hawam will win. So Do It Again's right there. Rainbow Bridge will be right on top of him. Very unlucky last time out. Behind Do It Again, got bumped and bulked, and people said Anton didn't really ride the best race, and the horse got taken out. But what's intrigued me is that Anton's jumped from Rainbow Bridge to Hawam. So he's a decent. He won it on Do It Again last year. He knows how to win Vodacom Durban July. So everything points to the favourites. You're looking at some bigger price runners. There's been a lot of anti-post money for Legal Eagle. There was some 100-1, 66-1 about him. Obviously, he's been backed in a little bit now, mainly because his merit ratings dropped from 127, now running off 115. He is getting a bit long in the tooth, but Mr. Terry is he's not South Africa's best trainer for nothing, champion trainer, and he's sort of looked after this old boy's merit rating, I think, and it's been a lot of shrewd money from the owners on the horse, and he can definitely run into the money. A lot of people are talking about Twist of Fate and Joey Ramsden's maybe his last July, because he's going overseas to train there now. At the weights, he's going to finish on top of a warm. I do think that 2-2 might be just outside of his range. I'm not too sure if he's going to see out the 2,200. Divine Odyssey, also one of the ones we've seen in social media, talking a little bit of the bigger priced horses, and a little bit more money for horse number 11 called Eyes Wide Open. This horse has beaten Do It Again at level weights, one of the only horses to do that. And, the owner and trainer are very, very passionate racing guys. So only problem is drawn 18, but, this horse will be coming with a late rattle. It all depends on the pace. Made to Conquer ran second last year. The value in the race for me for a top 6 position is a horse called Return Flight. It's the filly against the boys. It is a 3-year-old filly taking on the boys, but this horse has got no stamina doubts. Yes, on the same day as a Awam up in Joburg, the time was 3 seconds slower, and. But I think this horse will go to the front, allowed to dictate with a light mass. I make this a big runner in terms of top 6 position. So if guys looking for a bit of value, obviously the total paying top 6, open bet top 6 places with a lot of bookmakers. I wouldn't be talking anybody out of having a little strike on number 16, Return Flight.
Right, well, one of our big forum punters over the years, Southpaw, he's based in the UK, but he's a Durban boy as well, and he follows South African racing very closely. We call him something of a feature race specialist because he has a knack of just finding those 12 and 16 to 1 winners. He does admit when he did his preview that he was really put off a favourite purely by price, because he does like to go for those longer prices. So don't by any chance think he's riding off the favourite. But it's interesting the names you mentioned, because he likes Twist of Fate, Return Flight, and then he mentions a horse that he thinks could be running into the places, Divine Odyssey. What do you think of that one?
Well, that's the one I touched on, because I did read his preview earlier today. So, in terms of social media, I mean, if you look at Divine Odyssey, 4th of May run behind a Warm, Divine Odyssey was carrying 60, a Warm was carrying 57.5. There's a massive weight turnaround here. And if you look at the collaterals, they should finish on top of each other. Kelvin Habib rides, no disrespect to him. He won a big race jockey, but obviously knows the horse well. I wouldn't talk anybody out of having a place bet. I don't think he can win, but I do think he can run into the money.
Right. Well, let me share my screen there quickly now with you, and we'll just go have a look at the preview we got up. So just to mention, Hollywood are sponsoring the Good for the Game preview. So plenty of links there. They are one of the leading online bookmakers. They do have a 15% promotion, and that's for existing clients as well. So if you deposit, I think it's something crazy like up to 20,000, you'll get 15% on top of that. So if you had to deposit 10,000, you would get another 1,500. So a really good one, certainly one I use every year, because I place bets for so many different people, and people tend to phone me and place the bets, and then I can at least take advantage of that deposit bonus as well. But here we are with these preview. You can log on to the Good for the Game site, goodforthegame.co.za. You'll be able to read that. I will also put a link in towards the bottom of the page as well. Jason, what other bets are you looking to structure around this race? In particular, from a pick 6 point of view, in that I imagine we're looking at a massive pool this weekend. Is this a race where you sort of say, well, let's banker the favourite here? Because if I look past the favourite, sure, but I got to look wide.
Yeah, it's a type of race where I'm going to banker a Warm in my pick 6 and cover in the jackpot, put a few other horses in the jackpot. Like we've always said, I like to have a punt, but I'm a small-time punter, so I like to find I need to structure smaller perms. I definitely think a Warm is the horse to beat, and sometimes you've got to put your money where your mouth is. And I'll be bankering a Warm in the pick 6. But for guys out there that are looking to take, obviously, the Quartet massive pool on the day, also estimated in the 15 to 16 million rand mark. The horses you got to include are Do It Again, Rainbow Bridge, Hawam, Legal Eagle if you want to. Like I said, Twist of Fate, for me, stamina doubts. If he pulls it off, I'll eat my words, but I do think he can finish in the top 6. I might be playing to beat him, though. Definitely borrow him. Divine Odyssey, like I said, at the weights, has got to be right there. Eyes wide open, and Return Flight. My bets are going to be structured basically. I'll be taking swingers, exactors, and maybe like a roving quartet with Hawam and Return Flight.
Excellent. Yeah, well, plenty of options for punters to get involved in on the day. I must say, I haven't structured my bets yet, but I keep on. I think I've spoken to too many people. I read like Southpaw's preview on the Good for the Game website, and I'm thinking of one thing, and then I see your bullishness about Hawam, and I'm thinking, there we go. But I do like your tactic of bankering Hawam in the pick six, and the reason I say that is because I often find with the pick six, you try and go too wide sometimes in these big races, and quite often it is the favorite or one of the top three in the betting boards who pop up. And on a day like this, we're bound to get upsets on the card. It may not be in the July, but we're bound to see some double price runners coming home.
No, you should definitely see that. And, it's for the guys that with the smaller budgets, you got to take a chance here and there. I'm going to be bankering Hawam in race 7, and I'm going to be bankering Eden Rock in race 6. I think that's a decent juvenile, which we'll touch on now. But for the guys out there, they want to take your percent of the pick 6, load up a few legs. You don't have to put 10 horses. I think with respect, you'll get through with the likes of Do It Again, Rainbow Ridge, Hawam, throw in Divine Odyssey as a big spook, and Return Flight. I think those, and maybe Barahin. I think those 6 will probably get you through the July.
Right. Well, let's move on to the balance of the card then. And you mentioned the word spook, and just before the show, you were telling me you guys got a bit of a promo on races 5 to 8. Perhaps run us through that one, Jason.
Yeah, we Scorebet are offering races 5 to 8. If you have a strike on a horse, it's an outright win bet on any horse, and you get beaten by a horse with a starting price of 10 to 1 or better, and your horse happens to run second, we'll refund your stake in free bets. It's not one that you have to turn over 5 or 6 times. You just have to have, you can have a strike on any bet, even money or better. So I think that's a decent sort of promo. Obviously, the top 4 in the betting boards in the July, if you back any of those and they run second to the fifth sort of favorite of that, you get your stake back. So I think that's quite a decent promo. And we're also running a competition over the weekend from Friday to Sunday. One lucky winner will get his deposit back in full on Monday morning into his account. So we'll do a lucky draw on Sunday night. Winner will be announced on Monday morning. Just something to keep the guys interested. Obviously, we as a new bookmaker and as a growing online platform can't compete with the Hollywoods in terms of the 15% bonus, the likes of the other guys offering the 200% sort of free bets. But if the punters out there, and I'm not having a go at any bookmakers, you look at the prices compared to Hollywood and us, we probably 20% better. So yes, you're getting 15% more in terms of your deposit, but with us, you can have a normal bet and you're getting a better price anyway.
Right, well, check out Scorebet there, and certainly the likes of Hollywood as well. They do offer all the swingers and trifectas. So, Jason, let's quickly skim through the balance of the card there. I think you've nailed your colours to the mast for the July. What are we looking at on the rest of the card?
Brent, in race 2, I quite like a horse called Basilius. It's trying the polytrack for the first time. Muzi Yeni rides. Muzi did say in a preview I read online today that last race when running at Greyville, it ran second behind Van Halen. Van Halen's a talented sprinter that takes his place in a race later on in the evening. That he canted down on the polytrack, and he seemed to have a big spring in his step. I think 6 to 1's a big price about Basilius, and that'll be my first each way bet on the card. Comes up in race 2. Obviously, it is a pinnacle stakes, so he's only the 5th best horse in terms of ratings. You've got to beat the likes of Captain's Girl, Quinlan, and Attenborough. But I think Basilius, the Starley race, he gets a decent draw, backed over 1,000. That'll be my first strike on the card. And then, like I said, in race 6 and number 5, Eden Rock is my best bet on the card. He's 2 from 2. I think this is a decent juvenile. Sometimes these juvenile races can be very tricky and very tight, and I think race 5 is one of those where you have to load up in your pick 6. But race 6 for me, Eden Rock. I mean, he's won 2 from 2 with the Terry Yard debut over 1,400 meters, which he goes today. So there's no stamina doubts. Decent draw of 8, but the way he's won, he's one of those horses that knows how to win, seems to know how to win. I'll be taking a chance in bankering him. Going back to race 4, which is also the first leg of the pick 6. A lot of people will be putting in the likes of Strathton, Pacific Chestnut. A lot of guys will be in the camp of the 8 Sunshine Silk. I like a bit of the 10, Flitchity by far. Finished second in this race last year to a horse called It's My Turn. A very decent runner. This horse's merit ratings also dropped from 100 down to 93. So he's better off than he was this time last year. Lyle Hewitson rides, so it could be a Hewitson and Marcus and Yenny day. I think Flitchity by far is also worth a decent strike. And then the biggest outsider I found for the punters out there comes up in race 8. I generally like to find one near the back of the card, because if the front of the card doesn't work your way, you've always got a bit of a get-out stakes. And I'm very much, you look at race 8, it's another one of these stakes listed races, and you've got Infamous Fox at the top of the weight, Sniper Shot, also a decent horse. You turn over the page, Thanksgiving, Run Against Stronger. And then you get down to number 5, a horse called Social Order. This horse used to be a merit rating 106. It's now running off 99. So he's dropped a few pounds in the ratings, but he's dropped quite quickly. Had a sprint up in May over 1,200 meters, where was the fastest 400 finisher. Then had a nice run in Greyville in the Cup trial behind Kampala Campari. Also, a decent run. Julius Mariba rode it both times there. Lyle Hewitson now jumps back aboard. I think this horse is ready to win, and he's priced up anything from any bookmaker between 18 and 22 to 1. So that's my type of bet. That's my type of value. I like having an each way bet there. I think for punters out there, race 8, number 5 could get us out of the poor man's queue.
Right. Well, let's have a look. I'm going to share the screen there. I've listed your bets here, Jason. So just to run through them again, we've got Eden Rock at 13 to 10 in race 6. You're also going to make that up as pick 6 banker. WAM, so race 6 and 7 are going to be your bankers there at 5 to 2, which is the best price that I've seen. And then we're running through the each way. Basilius 6 to 1, Plickety by far 6 to 1, and then Social Order 18 to 1. I mean, that's a nice price. I mean, you're either cruising by that stage and ready to fire, or you're chasing and looking desperately to get out of trouble.
100%. And from a punting perspective, and the guys might say, I don't know what Jason sees, but when do you get almost 20 to 1 about Terry and Hewitson? It's one of those races where, in my head, anything can win. And I'll go for our reigning champion jockey and one of our top trainers. I think from a decent draw, I think Mr. Terry's got this horse back where he wants him.
Excellent. Jason, anything else on the day catch your eye? Any of the other race meetings, or are you focusing on Greyville?
No, I'm just focusing on Greyville. Obviously, for the punters that want to have a small sort of pick 6, I wouldn't talk them out of having 3 bankers. Eden Rock, Hawam, and even race 9, Oh Susanna should give you a good run for your money. I do think the Stable Companion's a runner and could upset the top weight. But for the guys out there, I just advise, have fun on the day, have a few beers with your mates. Enjoy the festivities wherever you are, whether you're up in Joburg at Turffontein, or whether you're in KZN, whether you're having a jawl at Durban Country Club, or with your mates and a bra. Play responsibly, have a bit of fun, and just look, try and catch something that catches your eye going down to start. Because at the end of the day, it's a tough race meeting. Greyville's not Hollywood bets. Greyville is not the easiest track to run on, and at the end of the day, we just want the best horses to have a fair passage, have a fair sort of dip at getting the crown. Do it again. We had a peach of a ride last year from Marcus, and I truly expect the same from him this year on a WAM.
Excellent. Just one of those days, as I said earlier, where I get to place a lot of bets for people who tend not to want to open accounts because they're all once-a-year punters. I'll never forget the one time watching at my folks' house many years ago, and I had, in those days, probably hundreds, maybe getting in towards the thousands of rand down. And when the dust settled, virtually every bet I placed lost. And a mate of mine had taken a box trifecta, 3 horses. Can't remember the year and the horses, but he spent 10 rand. So he had it like 1.6 times. Yeah. And he turned his 10 rand into 2,200 rand that day. And those are the sort of thing that July memories are made of.
100%. You know, July for me is those type of race, meaning where you take a few Yankees, a few Paytons, you know, and for punters out there that don't know what Yankees and Paytons, just Google it and have a look. It's a fantastic bet where you can have 11 different bets with 4 different horses. So that's what I'm going to do with these 4 horses. I'm going to probably take a nice Yankee, 55 Rand, it's 11 Rand a unit, or 5 Rand a unit for 11 different bets. And, you know, that can turn 55 Rand, can turn it into 20,000. It's very, very easy. And on a day like this, it's worth that chance.
Excellent. Now, I know you and I talk on Twitter quite a lot. I don't always know Twitter handles, but am I right in saying you're just at Jason Dedekind, your Twitter?
Correct. That's it.
Okay. Excellent. Hey, Jason, thanks very much, man. I'm looking forward to talking some more golf with you probably in a few weeks when we have the Open Championship taking place. And it's going to be a great race day, and all the best for your punting. Thanks
very much, Brent, and thanks for the viewers out there. And I really appreciate the opportunity to come onto your platform and obviously give Scorebet a punt. But for the punters out there, like I said, play responsibly and just have a bit of fun.
Excellent. Thanks very much, guys. Remember, if you haven't subscribed to our show, you can pop down and do that. We'll put in the first comments box, there'll be lots of useful links there, links to our previews, links to Scorebet, links to Hollywood bets. Click on those links and you can go directly through to those sites. For those of you who are rugby fans, we'll be previewing the Super Rugby final tomorrow night live at 9 o'clock on the Handicap Rugby Chat That Matters. We'll also have a look at the early Currie Cup betting as well as some of the World Cup betting. Thanks very much for watching this Durban July preview, and let's hope you bring home a few winners on Saturday.